let's be real. Like, we all know United's situation. We all know that United is a struggling team right now. We all know that United is a team that lacks structure. And honestly, the best players and the best managers will struggle at United. Yo, you guys, what is good, man? Welcome back to Real United Talk, where we talk about all matters Real Madrid and Man United. This is going to be another United Matters episode, and today we're going to be talking about Ten Hag. For United fans, this might be a soft spot, We've been traumatized, we've seen things that we didn't want to see, we've broken records that we don't want to break, and we don't even want to like speak his name and everything. I'm going to be giving my thoughts on what I think about Bayer Leverkusen appointing Ten Hag as their new manager, even after what he did as my United boss. And what actually inspired this was I was actually on my Substack recently, and someone actually asked the question like, well, what do you think about Ten Hag being appointed as the Bayer Leverkusen boss? And he made some points talking about like, oh, teams are just looking for an established manager, and then even though he failed, they're still signing him. So he basically was against it. And then I just looked at that and I kind of like, I kissed my teeth a little because I can't lie, I don't agree with that point whatsoever. Ten Hag is not a bad manager. Ten Hag might have failed at Man United, but he is not a bad manager. And I think that people sort of have this notion that like, once someone fails once, then like, like there's no revival for them, there's no coming back for them. And I think this is especially like Premier League fans, that they have this thought process of like, if someone fails in the Premier League, like if either a player or a manager comes to the Premier League and they fail and their career is done, there's no going back for them. And it's just this whole thing of like, the Premier League is the best league in the world and all of that. Like, people have that notion, and then people just think that like, oh, if it's not happening in the Premier League, then it's not happening at all. And that's just not true. Football does not end in the Premier League. I've said this time and time again. Football does not end in the Premier League. People need to like kind of like open their minds to the fact that there are top 5 leagues in Europe. There are 5 top leagues in Europe, and there's actually big things happening in all those leagues. So we cannot just say that like, oh, someone doesn't do it in the Premier League, and then it means that like, they were never that good to begin with. Yes, it is. It's like, yes, it's not a good look, and yes, coming to the Premier League is like proving yourself, especially when like it's not even within Europe's top 5 leagues. Maybe when you came from the Eredivisie or however you pronounce that, or the Portuguese league, and then you fail in the Premier League, it's kind of like damning to your name and all of that. But like at the end of the day, football does not end in the Premier League. You can fail in the Premier League and make it somewhere else. But I've seen multiple examples of that. The first one I'm going to talk about is Unai Emery. Emery obviously joined Arsenal in 2018, and then his time at Arsenal was not the best, right? Like, Arsenal were not good that time, and his name was tainted. Like, he didn't succeed at Arsenal. But the thing about that is that Unai Emery had success before he came to Arsenal. He had success at Sevilla, and he was just like he was a good manager. He was thought of as a good manager, and which is one of the reasons why Arsenal signed him. And obviously he didn't succeed at Arsenal. And then you can't just, and the thing about that is that after that, people tend to like write this type of people off. They probably wrote him off and all of that. And guess what? He went to Villarreal, and then he won the Europa League with Villarreal. He gave them a Europa League title, and he beat Arsenal in the process. He obviously beat United in the process, and he won a Europa League title. And now he's at Aston Villa doing his thing. He's come back to the Premier League and he's proving himself well. He got Aston Villa into the Champions League. They did well in the Champions League. They went to the quarterfinals, which is really, really good. And although they didn't make it to the Champions League this season, they are still in Europe. Like, Aston Villa are constant European contenders on a regular basis. That's a successful manager, in my opinion. And imagine if, like, after his time in the Premier League, imagine if everybody was like, oh yeah, he didn't do it in the Premier League, so like, we're not going to give him a chance. You probably just go to like one of these like Chinese clubs or Saudi clubs or something and just do his thing there because it's over for him. No, he didn't do it in the Premier League when he first came to Arsenal, and he did it after that. And that example of that is Vincent Kompany. Obviously, Kompany had his thing at Burnley. He got them promoted back to the Premier League. But when they got back to the Premier League, they got relegated again. Terrible in the Premier League compared to what they were in the Championship. And then Bayern gave him a chance. I didn't think that was a good appointment for Bayern. I didn't think that was like the best thing for them and all of that. I didn't think that Kompany was experienced enough. So, and that was not based on like that he had failed in the Premier League. That was based on like I just didn't think he had the experience, and I just didn't think that he had what it took to actually like manage Bayern. But like he went back to Bayern and he gave them a Bundesliga title after losing out to it last season to Bayer Leverkusen. So yes, as much as like Bayern is like this team that always win Bundesliga titles and it's not really like that big of a thing anymore when Bayern won the new Bundesliga title, the fact that they took it back is a big thing, and the fact that it was him that help them take it back as well is a big thing. So imagine if Bayern decided not to give him a chance, then who knows if they'd have won that Bundesliga title this season. They might have, but who knows, you know. So it's just that type of thing that, like, you know, just because a manager feels, and this is not even just Premier League, like this is in general, like just because a manager feels, just because a player feels somewhere, doesn't mean that it's going to fail everywhere. I've seen players go to a team and fail, and go to this other team and succeed. Like I've seen that multiple times, time and time again. Mkhitaryan came to the Premier League, he came to Man United, he didn't do too well in Man United, he went to Arsenal, we obviously know how that went, and now he's in Inter, and as much as, like, you know, he's not like the biggest names in Inter or anything, he is playing well, and like, it's just one of those prime examples of like players that, like, you know, they come to the Premier League, they don't make it, and then they go somewhere else and they make it. So like, just because you fail in the Premier League doesn't mean that like you need to stop this notion of, like, you know, you fail in the Premier League and then you fail everywhere. Like, you know, you're just not a successful manager or player and everything. And one of the reasons why I actually try to like branch out to other leagues, one of the reasons why I actually try to like watch like other leagues, whether it's La Liga or watch Serie A every now and then, or even watch the league on. One of the reasons why I do that is just so my mind is kind of open to everything that's happening in other leagues. Like my mind is open to the amount of quality in these other leagues, just because, like, you know, the Premier League has a particular style of play. Like it's not really particular, but you know, you normally see like physical players, you normally see a lot of run and everything, and then you go to like La Liga, you see like technical players. Like it's just that type of thing. Syria is a bit more slower, where they prioritize defending, and it's just all these type of things. But you're kind of like opening your mind to different ideas and different styles of play. So you know, you're not just limited to the ideas that the Premier League gives you. So yes, the Premier League is not the only league in the world. The Premier League is one of Europe's top 5 leagues. So yes, it is a big league. It's probably a contender for one of the best leagues in the world, but it's not the only league in the world. And yeah, we're talking about Ten Hag, and Ten Hag obviously came to the Premier League and he failed in the Premier League. But before he came to the Premier League, he was at Ajax, and at Ajax he was very successful. Won multiple league titles, took them on that Champions League run. Obviously, we all remember how that went. We all remember the 2018-2019 Ajax team. So yes, Ten Hag was a successful manager before he came to United, and it's probably the reason why United appointed him. United appointed him because they liked what he was doing at Ajax, and other teams wanted him as well. Other teams wanted Ten Hag, and he came to United. And let's be real, like we all know United's situation. We all know that United is a struggling team right now. We all know that United is a team that lacks structure. And honestly, the best players and the best managers will struggle at United. We saw Mourinho struggle a bit. I know he was having a bit of like a downturn from like his whole special one and everything, but he fell off a bit. He still won us a trophy though. Ten Hag won us a trophy, but you know how that went. And then we've just seen time and time again players and managers just coming to United to flop. And as much as like that's the case for Ten Hag, I do still think that he's a good manager. I don't think that his career deserves to be over after this. I don't think that he deserves to not be given a chance. You know, Bayer Leverkusen give him a chance. They're obviously a team right now that people are thinking about that potential like Bundesliga contenders now that they won one last season. That was the first one ever in their history. But now they've become this team that people are going to be thinking about like, oh, next season they're going to be challenging for the Bundesliga. And for them to appoint Ten Hag, it means that like they obviously think that he can get them there. They obviously think that like he can keep them as contenders and potentially even win it for them. He did it at Ajax, he didn't do it at United, but he did well at United in his first season, and he obviously got sacked and everything. But now he's there at Leverkusen. They gave him a chance because he is a good manager. He failed in the Premier League, he failed at United, but he is still a good manager. Ten Hag is obviously someone that has this style of play, and I think that with the proper team, with the proper structure, with proper management, I think that, you know, they give him the players that he wants. I know Leverkusen isn't like the richest team in the world, but they give him some players that he wants. He can use the players that he has at his disposal, and he can just make something special. And like there'll honestly be like less pressure on him at Leverkusen, as much as like, you know, they're still expected to be like Bundesliga contenders and everything. There'll be less pressure on him at Leverkusen than there was at Man United. So that's also something that can help him as well. I do think that was a good appointment. He obviously has a different style of play than Xabi Alonso. He obviously has a different structure and everything. But Leverkusen thought that, like, you know, whatever he brings to the team will be good for them and will keep them as Bundesliga contenders and even do better in the Champions League next time. So yes, I do think that was a good appointment, and I don't think that just because he failed in the Premier League means that he's not going to fail as a whole and he's a failed manager. And I just hope that Premier League fans can understand that the Premier League is not the only league in the world, and just because you failed in the Premier League doesn't mean that you fail everywhere, and doesn't mean that you're okay failed in your career. So I just hope that Premier League fans come to that understanding. Yeah, that's the end of this episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm going to continue trying to push out episodes, and I hope to see you guys again next time. I'm going to try and stay consistent, and I hope to consistently see you guys here. Thanks again. Peace.